Welcome everybody to the Building Equity Podcast and the foreclosure numbers that just hit for January 2023. My name is James Schlimmer and I am happy to be here with you. Listen, before we get started, I got to give you my disclaimer. So listen, none of this is financial advice. It's strictly for educational purposes, and that's what we're doing here. As always, the Foreclosure Report is brought to you by IRA Title Pro. If you are buying and selling real estate using your self-directed IRA, you need to know about IRA Title Pro. Head over to visit IRA Title Pro. Yes, we are a closing company, title company all across the country, but we also have amazing resources that will help real estate investors like you at every step of your journey, whether you're buying, selling, or lending. Use all those resources, enjoy them. And listen, let's get into the numbers. I want to start here with, you'll see the screen will change, which is great. I want to start with foreclosure starts. And when we talk about a start, we guys should know what that looks like for January of 23. But as you can see on the screen here, right in the upper right, I'm going to show you there was about 20,362 starts in January. Now, if we compare that to what we saw in December of 22, we actually had a 1.48% decrease. If we were to, it's actually before I go there, what's really interesting is if you compare January of 23 to January of 22, you see a 78% increase. Now, if you've been watching these shows, don't get hung up on these dramatic increases because there was a moratorium. So as Darren has mentioned in previous episodes, there's going to be, I'm not saying a flood to scare anybody, a flood of foreclosures, but there's a high volume of foreclosures that are making their way through the system because the moratorium stopped. So that's kind of why you see these just dramatic numbers. But if we were to head over, and clearly we're just talking about volume here, your standard states are leading the pack. Your Californias, this is again foreclosure starts. California, Texas, Florida, New York, Illinois, what you would expect. But where it gets really interesting, let's switch over to looking at per 1,000 households. And this is where the story gets a little bit different. Delaware, 35% increase from December. Illinois, Georgia, Nevada, Michigan. Again, if you haven't signed up for your state-specific foreclosure reports, head over to IRA Title Pro. Look for the foreclosure report set up for that, and we're going to send you state-specific. And you have the ability to dive into the county, you have the ability to dive into the zip code level and be able to figure out what's going on. I'm going to create some videos that I think would be helpful if you're a brand new investor. How would you use this information to be able to go back to the clerk of courts in the county to find exactly what those properties are? I'm going to show you how to do that, so make sure you're on the lookout for those videos. Now, if we move over here, let's talk about notice for foreclosure sale. Again, this is when in the clerk of courts, the judge ordered that property is going to go up for sale. This is a great alert for investors because now you can head over to auction.com, you can head over to your clerk of courts website and see, all right, what information can I find about this property because I know it's going to go up for sale, usually within about 30 to 45 days from the time that it's the sale is ordered by the courts. So let's take a look. If we were to look, we see there was about 15,025 notice of sales throughout the country. That's a 11% increase from December. And if we were to look at January of 22, we're up 34%. Now that is a huge jump though. If you look just January of 23 to December of 22, in that 1 month period, we're seeing an 11% increase in notice for sales. And again, those are all opportunities for investors. And a great tool to use is auction.com or head over to your clerk of courts. Prior to going to the clerk of courts, you may want the state-specific foreclosure reports from IRA Title Pro so you can see what's happening in your zip code, in your state, and you can drill in. Now, obviously, if we look at just from a volume standpoint for notice of sales, Texas, California, Georgia, Michigan are leading the pack. But let's make our way over to per 1,000 units. And we can see Georgia, Michigan, Arizona. And we're not talking small numbers here in Arizona. There was 581 Michigan saw 887 notice of sales in January. Georgia, 1,027. And is there anything wild that comes up on here? And obviously you could see the percentage increases from the previous month. But again, the Wyoming I find to be so interesting about what's going on in Wyoming. There was 32 notice of sales, so stuff to look out for. Now, if we were to make our way over to the REOs, I'm going to switch over to volume. We can see there were 3,896 auctions took place where the bank took over that property in January. And that was a 6% increase from what we saw in December. Now, if we were to compare January's REOs to January 22 REOs, it actually decreased 18.5%. So you could see here where we're at, and then January of 22 we're up there, it was about 40, almost 4,800. Interesting twist, but let's take a look. Michigan leading the pack from a volume standpoint, where it looked like there were 858 REOs in January of 23. That's a significant amount, especially when you think like California only had 300. California, it's huge. Illinois, 307. Michigan, 858. That to me is the story just by volume, but let's look at per 1,000 units and see what kind of story we can tell here. And as you can see, Michigan is still leading the pack. Alaska, Illinois, there's our Wyoming again, Pennsylvania, just to put it in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states. So again, some really interesting things happening in the world of foreclosures. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I tried to make this one as quick as possible to get straight to the point, but feel free if you want to dive into the data, which I am a data nerd, I love to do. Make sure you subscribe to your state-specific report. As always, the team at IRA Title Pro is ready, willing, and able to close on your buys, your sales, and if you're doing any lending with your self-directed IRA, we're happy to help. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll make sure we can help you out. Looking forward to talk to you next month. Have a great day.